Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We rented movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the feedback bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge sent us podcast. Hey,
Guys, welcome to Large Marge Sent Us Podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie with an IE.
And I'm Sweetie with a Y.
Whoa!
Hey guys.
So
hey, I was thinking, instead of us saying hey guys, which some people might think is a unnecessarily gendered way to start something, maybe we should change it up and say hey sweeties or something. What do you think?
Well, hey guys is just kind of my thing, just from the
I
old
know, but
old
now
story
there's all
from
these
the
things and
the old story
But they
from my
don't
old
know 'em.
voicemail.
Nobody knows that.
But it's an important story to me.
I don't think you've ever told it.
Okay, here's
once.
the story, guys. So one of my old phone message used to be on like my cell phone, my first cell phone voicemail message. Now, if you have one, it's usually like kind of professional. You're like, hey, you've reached the phone of Emily Dumas. Like, please leave a message. But my first phone, I hadn't done a lot of job interviews or whatever. So my first message was like, hey guys, I'm not here right now. Leave a message and I'll call you back. And my older sister, Liz, like gave me so much shit for that. She thought it was the funniest thing. She made fun of me like endlessly. And then I had to change it to be more professional. So that's where my hey guys comes from. So I'd like to keep it, but you know, I think we could change it up.
Well, I'm going to change it up when it's my turn.
Perfect. I love it.
How about that?
Hey guys and gals and non-binary gender people. This is the Sweeties here. It has been quite a long while. We took a spontaneous hiatus for no reason other than we were busy. Couldn't get some time to record. Also, there's like been crazy tea storms, and I know it's summer, so this is the time and all, but you know, Sweetie had a scare that other time and refuses to drive, which I do not blame her. It is really scary to drive in like torrential downpours. It's worse than snow.
Yeah. It's terrifying.
It's the worst.
And we could have recorded remotely, but Sweetie's on this like gotta record in person kick now. So.
Oh, I am. I love it. So, but we are in person now. Awesome. This is the first time we're recording in my new pad, the new Sweet Eye pad, me and Sweet Eye, Jimmy's new place. It's pretty cool. Hope the acoustics are good. We always say that in new places. I love it. But yeah, fun day. So Sweetie came over, no tea storms. Awesome. And we watched Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. I really just refer to this as The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Evil. I sometimes say Austin Powers too.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Yep. So the sequel to Austin Powers, which came out in 1999, so 2 years after the original. I believe the original was 97. We covered the original, I want to say like a year ago, maybe more at this point. Good flick. The sequel, as we talked about when we did the original, was one that I think we were more familiar with because, as we explained in that episode, like Austin Powers came out and then people like really got into it. So it wasn't a movie that we saw in the theater, but by the time the sequel was being promoted, we were like, we're seeing that.
I feel like we saw it in the
It's
theater.
awesome.
We didn't see it in the theater?
I didn't see the original. Oh. No, it was like an after the fact thing. Not that no one heard of this movie, but it just like was one that like it didn't really catch on until the sequel and everyone was like nuts for this character. Even though it was like Mike Myers still and after Wayne's World. Yeah, so I saw this one in theater and again, like waiting for it. It was the countdown was happening once it got announced that this like movie was going to take place, right? Mm-hmm. But upon this rewatch, again, I feel like we've done this with a couple sequels that we were more familiar with because we just saw them more and they came out, when we were more apt to like see them in either in theater or like in the theaters or on TV. I think the original is better.
Of course. Well, this is just the same movie. They just put different jokes in and then have a worse actress as Elizabeth Hurley.
Exactly. So I was like laughing, but yeah, it was just like, okay, wow. It didn't dawn on me how much of the jokes were retreads from the first one, which we've said in sequels they have to do as like in some ways a mandatory sequel thing to like, you know, latch on that audience, but I don't. I feel it seems different than like Wayne's World 2, where it was also a lot of the same kind of jokes, but they switched it up, and I feel like they didn't switch it up enough. I agree. Like, I agree. It was like, oh, the guard kills himself at the end, and then he does that like, oh, bad way to burn, or like something like that for like 5 minutes, just like in the first one when he got eaten by the fish. The sea bass, the mutant sea bass. Agree.
So it just it's not like unique enough or something.
Right. They didn't do enough of that, like changing them just slightly, and it was a lot of retreads, and mostly it was just like 90s pop culture references. Well, I'm going to be so pumped to talk about because I was like, oh boy,
I wrote them
and I feel like that's going to be like most of this podcast. But I agree. Like, worst main actress, retreads of most of the jokes. You know, again, I feel like this movie is really like Dr. Evil kind of has all the good stuff. I mean, we talked about in the first one how that character of Austin Powers is so funny in a lot of ways, but seeing him like a whole nother movie with him was almost like exhausting because you're like, okay, like we've done all this. We've done all your little like mod stuff. We've done all your yeah baby yeah and like all that, and there wasn't like enough of that character to last for 2 movies almost. Yeah, I feel like will we watch the Goldmember one? Maybe, but I feel like I remember that one a little bit more because I probably have seen it more recently.
I've only seen that one once.
I do enjoy the Beyonce part, and I enjoy the Goldmember guy who has like the smoke and a pancake guy.
Ew, but he like collects his skin in like a box. I can't. So my problem with this, I think I liked it a lot when I was little. But the older I got, the more and more like turned off I got from it because 2 things would always stick out in my head, and I'd be like, no, I never want to watch that again. Number 1 was Heather Graham as Felicity Shagwell, who was just like this terrible actress, and like everything she was in, she was terrible. I was confused why she was an actress, and it just like never made sense to me, and she just like ruins this whole fucking movie. And then number 2 was the poop in a bottle in the science lab, which is like poop in a beaker, and then Austin Powers drinks it, and it's like so upsetting. And I hadn't seen this in so long, and when that part happened, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I can't remember watching this as a bit younger and being like, that's hilarious. Like, did I ever find that funny? I hope not. It's just so gross.
I still find it funny, and I will say I am a big fan of poop jokes. I will never not think they're funny. However, these ones are gross
because you see it. There's a difference between like Jeff Daniels like pooping in the bathroom and then it being broken, but you don't see anything. You just hear it, and it's like physical comedy. But this is like it was too present.
In your face poop, and also like excuse me, Fat Bastard has most of his jokes are poop jokes, and maybe it's just paired with that character who's also gross. Yeah, it's just like too much gross. But yeah, I usually like love a good poop joke, and even I was like, okay, I think that's a step too far for me. Drinking poop is not funny. And yes, I feel like when I saw this, I thought it was really funny as well. But now it's, maybe we're just like too old. Okay, I will say, agree 1,000%. Heather Graham is possibly the worst actress ever. How she made it so far is because she's pretty.
She's okay. Like, she's not like a drop dead knockout.
She is like a classic blonde beauty, like a perfect face. Blue eyes. I mean, she's everything we're fighting against. Let's be real. And we said in License to Drive, because I was like, we've done a movie with her. And I was like, License to Drive. And it just this is so horrible, but bothers me about those skinny girls with big boobs. I Googled, are her boobs real? Because I was like, that cannot be. You cannot be that skinny and have that good boobs. Her boobs are real. So good for her. But like, what the hell is with those girls? It drives me nuts. She is styled very well in this and she looks gorgeous, but she has no acting ability whatsoever. And funny story about that. So she did Boogie Nights in 1997. So I had to look that up because the trivia fact was she was struggling to get jobs right before she got this movie, to the point she almost accepted a role in a lesbian porn. And then she got this role and she didn't have to do it. So she like made sure she watched that porno that she like was almost in after like she got this. I don't know. But I was like, you know what? That would really make sense for her to be a porn star because she'd be really good at it. Because she's probably like even too hot to be a porn star, but she has a good body and she can't act. Okay, so like there you go. I agree, but she's still acting today. I mean, I looked at her stats and everything.
Yeah,
she's got
things.
current like resume.
She's fine when she like uses her, when she's like in on the joke of her not being a good actress or something. But it's like when she's trying to act, it just doesn't work. I don't know how to explain that.
It's just distracting. It's just really, really distracting.
It's everything she says is so unnatural sounding,
oh,
and it's just like
bad.
It's like she's reading lines off of a page, and it's just so. It's just like
that part in the end when she's like, "That's for calling me crap, fatty." Like that was the worst line reading I've like ever heard.
All of a sudden, she's like a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah,
and that's for calling me crap, fatty.
It was just, yeah. So anyway. But I do remember loving this when it came out, thinking it was so funny. Like, again, just like the first one, like memorizing lines and stuff like that. Not totally getting as much of the retread just because I hadn't seen the original Austen as much. But now I've seen the original one so much, it's like, yeah, you're just you can't.
And now I know why we kept confusing them.
Yeah.
When we did the first
It's
one,
the same
and I was
movie.
like, Mini-Me's not in this one, and you're like, oh, because it is the same movie,
Right.
so it makes sense.
So that introduction, which is like basically the big change that they made for this one, right? So like we said, super retread, all the characters come back. There's like younger versions of some of the characters because there's a time travel aspect to it. But the big difference is the Mini-Me part, right? And that was really the standout for this one. And when this came out and like launched the career of the Vern Troyer, who ended up, being sort of, I don't know what other movies he did, but then he's a short person, but like quite a bit short person than short people, right?
Little people,
Yeah.
little person.
He seems like on the
they're
very
called short people,
very little end.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, but there's two kinds of like dwarfism,
Okay.
and it's like the one where their torso
bigger
is a little
heads
bit,
one?
yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit. I mean, not super.
He doesn't have the big head.
But he's just
short.
yeah. So yeah, Vern Troyer. He was in On the Surreal Life.
Right. That's what I was.
He's been in a bunch of things, but he's probably like wearing like a costume or something, like an Ewok, like what's his face? Our favorite, Warwick Davis, who we said. I don't know if anyone caught this on a different podcast, but when we were talking about Warwick Brown from CSI, I was like, Warwick Davis. It was not. It was wrong Warwick. Who would have thought? But anyways, yeah, Vern Troyer, the whole concept of Mini-Me was just like a 90s frenzy pop culture staple.
People went
nuts about it. So yeah. For sure.
And he's since passed, right? He died.
I thought that, and then someone like posted some movie that he was in recently, and I was like, what?
He died like a couple of years ago. I remember like when that happened.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah. So that was like the big deal that came out of that. And that is really like the funniest part of this. I feel like they stretch it like a little too much and too long, but he ends up being in the next one too. So then they really like ride that out. And then also the fat bastard character is the other like kind of extra part of this one. And I don't feel comfortable now with that character now so this is 1999. So we're, 21 years away from this movie. And any movies that sort of rely on just the fat joke stuff is just so uncomfortable and is not funny anymore. you know, there's some parts that kind of still are, but like, I don't know. I just didn't feel like any of those were really good things at all, and are completely outdated, and it was just felt icky.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like kind of I'm not sad about it, but I'm sad that stuff happened, and I remember how funny everyone thought that was, and now it's just so awful. So that's like the other half of this is that's like half the movie.
I know.
Is the fat bastard stuff. And then there's also like there's like some Asian jokes in here that are really inappropriate.
A bunch of them. Asian jokes, Will Ferrell's in casual brown face.
Yeah.
It's like,
it was just it's pretty bad.
yeah. It is, and it's just disappointing that it's not like it doesn't hold up like maybe we thought it might. Like I think there's like one part we like genuinely laughed at, which was like the exorcism chair part. I think that was it, but like the rest we were just like, oh yeah.
Yeah, this has not aged well, and I have not seen this in years. I mean, I have not seen this at least 10 years, maybe more. And it's just amazing when you watch stuff, you know, as the decades go on here. And you're like, oh, damn. Because I don't feel like that about Wayne's World at all. I don't feel like that had like a lot of inappropriate stuff really at all. This series definitely falls a little bit more on like the cheaper jokes. And yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but it is just not aged well.
Yeah. And it was just another one of those ones that people just went overboard with the like, yeah, babe, you know, we talked about that when we did the first one where it just like got so overdone.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of it too, but yeah,
But this was a huge movie, and like I said, they made a third one, so it was the gold member one with Beyonce. And that was equally popular, and then they stopped. So, okay, so Spy Who Shagged Me, like I said, 1989. Jay Roach is the director who did the original Austin Powers, so they brought him back for this one. Most recently, he directed Bombshell. Good movie. Saw that last year. Go see it. The Fox News.
Oh.
Yeah. Roger Ailes, creepy as hell. Another person in a fat suit. John Lithgow, scary. He also directed Game Change. If you remember that. That's the John McCain, Sarah Palin election one. And then Meet the Parents was the other kind of big in the sequel, I think.
Yeah, never really saw that either.
Yeah, people love that one, but I've never latched onto that one. So, yeah, same director. Who do we have in this film?
We've got Mike Myers, obviously. I mean, yeah, you know, his usual wacky
so all
self.
the same. Mimi Rogers. Mimi Rogers? Who is
Elizabeth?
Missy
something?
Minnie something?
No, Missy.
Missy something? Minnie something.
Oh.
Anyway, always
You're
forget
Minnie
her.
something.
And Robert Wagner as number 2. Heather Graham, as we said, as Felicity Shagwell.
Mindy Sterling. We were both wrong.
Yes. And then you have like tons of cameos. So Rebecca Romaine, was she Rebecca Romaine at this point? Was she Rebecca Romaine Stamos? Was she Rebecca Romaine O'Connell? I think she ended up lastly being married to Jerry O'Connell. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're still married. I am not sure.
I will always remember this for like until I die is when there was like some talk show where John Stamos was on it. And he was talking about how crazy he gets when his wife has her period. And it just like really freaked me out. Like ever since then, I've just been like, ew.
What do you mean
Uncle
crazy?
Jesse. I don't know. Like he
can just sense it and goes nuts?
I don't know.
Smells the blood?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Good question. I don't know. It's been a question mark, but it's been like haunting me this whole time. Anyways, Rebecca Romaine. Did you find out that other woman's name that we couldn't remember?
Kristen, what the hell is her
thought
name?
you
I
looked
went
it
through
up.
everyone. Stuart Bell.
Why don't you look it up?
I couldn't find her in the cast.
What?
She was not listed.
Search Third Rock from the Sun.
Yeah, that's who it is.
God, do I have to do everything? Kristen Johnston.
Yep.
Johnston.
Third Rock from the Sun lady. Also,
it's not what I thought it was.
If you've ever seen this Sex in the City, she's the woman who falls out the window when she's smoking, and it's like so tragic, but one of the funniest episodes.
Good.
So good. Okay, this is one we learned today. Carrie Ann Inaba, who is a judge on Dancing with the Stars, yes, is a dancer in this. Pretty cool. She's like a professional dancer, but a judge now on Dancing with the Stars. Rob Lowe as young number 2.
Good choice.
Interesting fact about him, he had already nailed down his Robert Wagner impression because he dated his daughter. creepy.
What? Wow.
Like years before.
Go Rob.
Will Ferrell comes back as the racially and racist portrayal of Mustafa. Tim Robbins as the president. I forgot about that one. And Fred Willard, RIP, as this bit role. I think it's in the penis. Okay, that's another memorable one I think was pretty funny and aged well.
Yeah.
Cracked up.
True.
A big part of this was we'll talk about is like where they're using different words for a penis basically because Dr. Evil's spaceship looks like a penis. So they I wrote down at least 20 words. I can't wait to go over it because it is funny to me.
Yeah.
So again, like a lot of cameos, a lot of people returning from the first one. Good cast. Pretty funny stuff, but like we said,
Yeah, I'm over it.
yeah, we're over it.
Over it. All right, so let's talk about it a little bit more.
All right. Sorry, I just love when my computer freezes. Okay. So I love when we do the synopsis of these comedy ones because it's like, because I listened to when we did Robin Hood Men in Tights and we were trying to do a synopsis of a spoof movie and we're like, okay, we were never paying attention to the plot. It's only about these like little jokes and we had no idea what plot of that movie and we had so many questions and we were like,
Well, that's exactly what's going to
it
happen
was
now.
the worst synopsis ever.
Whatever. They're all great synopsis. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. It's time for the sweetie synopsis.
Yeah, sweeties.
Try the Hot Pockets. They're breathtaking. Oh, I have one more. www.sh.com.org. Okay, that doesn't
That's
make
not-
sense.
yeah, that's
You would
not
never do a .org
It's not
after
possible,
.com.
Dr. Evil.
Hello.
Oh, boy. Austin
That's so 90s.
Austin Powers has embarked on his honeymoon with Vanessa. They're getting along great, but then she starts doing weird shit and is like rewinding, and he realizes he can control her with the TV remote. So he's like, oh no, she's a fembot, and he like rips off her face, and she's a fembot. So then you hear Dr. Evil's voice like, a wedding present to I can't do Dr. Evil. I don't know what happened. And then she
pretty good.
explodes.
That wasn't
It seemed like Kermit the Frog. But she explodes. She's gone. So it was pretty funny because it's like, okay, Vanessa or Elizabeth Hurley like maybe didn't want to be in this movie, or she definitely didn't want to be in the whole thing, but she was like, I'll do a cameo. So they just like threw something together. And like one of the reoccurring jokes in this series, or especially this movie at least, is that they know it doesn't make sense. And so they poke fun at that a lot, and they're like, she was a fembot the whole time. And then Basil Expeditions is like, yes, we knew that. And you're like, what? Like, what do you mean she was a fembot the whole time? She had a mom. It doesn't make sense.
Right. It does not make sense at all. And wait, do you think they are making fun of the fact that doesn't make sense? Is that from like a James Bond sort of like idea that like it's just too complicated and they like make up stuff and
Maybe.
people are dead but alive and all that? Is that why?
I don't know.
Or they just don't care?
I think they just don't care. And like they just needed a way to like still use her but then get rid of her.
They need to get rid of her because when the first movie leaves off, like they're in love and whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. So Austin's sad about it, but then he's like, wait, I'm single again. Yeah, baby. So he's back in his journey or whatever.
His journey.
Meanwhile, Dr. Evil has jettisoned back into Earth from space in his little egg plane thing.
Cryogenically-
Egg ship. Well, he wasn't
Was he
cryo. No,
cryogenic?
he
He
wasn't.
just escaped in
He
the
just
egg?
escaped in the egg. Comes back to Earth. Everyone's like, "Oh, good, you're back." And then they invented a time machine. So he's like, "Sweet, I'm going to go into 1969 and steal Austin Powers' mojo," because he decides that like that's the thing. That's the reason why he can't kill Austin Powers. Meanwhile, a couple of developments. They got him a clone, Mini-Me. Scott's still around, still kicking. Anything else new happen? And then the time machine.
Yeah.
So they make the time machine, and he goes back to 1969 with Mini-Me. Meanwhile, wait, why did he have to go back to 1969?
Yeah, I don't understand why he had to go back, but they had. Well, he goes back first, and then is sort of like giving orders about how to steal the mojo, and they get a undercut.
Steal it pretty quickly.
When they get an undercover operative, like the people who are guarding Austin that is cryogenically frozen, because Austin was frozen in 1967. So they have these like a Scottish guard. So they have this fat bastard undercover officer, and he goes and steals the mojo. So that's like how they get the mojo. But you're right. Like, why did he have to go back in time? I don't remember that part. Anyway, so they steal the mojo, and at the same time they're stealing the mojo, Austin Powers in 1999 is having sex with this Russian model who is like an operative of Dr. Evil, and it's gone. So apparently he goes flat, limp dick, whatever you want to call it, and is like, my mojo's gone. Yeah. So he knows immediately. So his mojo is stolen from him in the past, and as you know, time travel wise, ripple effect to the future. So he doesn't have his mojo. So he goes to Basil, and Basil's like, we've confirmed you don't have your mojo. I don't know what the test would be to test why. Like,
Again,
because
doesn't make sense.
So when they pull out the mojo, it's like a, like a syringe in the ice of into his penis. And they like extract something. And essentially it is purple and pink glitter with little min symbols floating. So like that's his mojo.
That's the mojo.
Right. So they're thinking like mojo, okay, mojo is a state of mind, right? It's not like a physical thing. You don't
It was like sex appeal.
I mean, but it's not something you can like take away from somebody. It's like an attitude.
Yes, but they know that. I mean, this is back to that whole like nonsense thing. Like you don't think about it too hard. You're just like, okay, that makes sense, kind of. Right. So they get the mojo, and then Basil is like, oh, we built a time machine also. We found out, blah, 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 Dr. Evil stole your mojo. Take this VW time machine and go back to 1969 to stop Dr. Evil, who's now like in a new lair, going to probably destroy the world. Yeah. So again, I don't know why Dr. Evil has to stay in 1969 once he gets the mojo. Yeah. Like, why is that a thing? I don't know. But he goes to so they're both in 1969 now, Dr. Evil and Austin Powers. So in 1969, Dr. Evil's finally gotten his wish, and his lair is in a hollowed out volcano. It's not so much hollowed out, though, because it still, like, erupts. So I don't know what you'd call that, but whatever. And number 2 is, like, young and handsome, Rob Lowe. But poor Frau, is still just herself, and it's, like, the joke. I don't know what the joke is there, that, like, women don't get to... If once you're old, you're always old. You never go back. I don't know.
Well, she was like a Frau, which I feel like is like a dowdy kind of person, and I don't know.
I just feel like it was
hit on.
I just feel like it was mean.
No, I mean it was just.
And then 1969. What else happened in 1969? He like tells the president, "I'm gonna blow up Washington D.C."
Right.
Like
so it's another ransom.
Yeah.
Like,
and then he shows
deal.
a video of Independence Day blowing up the spaceship blowing up the White House, and they're like, "Oh my God!" He's like, "That's what my laser will do." So he is like, "Pay me $100 billion," which is like the total he says in the first one, right? Where they were like, remember first he's like $100 million, and they're like, yeah. But now in 1969 he knows the monetary value, so he asks for $100 billion, and they've never even like heard of $1 billion. They've never heard of $1 billion. In 1969 they laugh at him.
Is that true though? I don't know. I
Sure.
need to do some research on that, because that just says, I'm sure there was $1 billion, and if you're a country, you hit $1 billion.
Not 100 billion. I don't know. I don't know if you could. How would you search that?
Well, okay, so yesterday, case in point, I was watching The Wonder Years, and it was an episode about allowance, and Kevin Arnold got $2 for allowance in 1970. So there's a calculator that you can do to say, right? Guess how much $2 in today's money would be?
$50?
No, $13.
Oh,
but if you remember this episode, he goes caddying, and the guy ends up being this like jerk boss of his dad. And it's this kind of whole like thing between him and his dad, Jack. But the guy tips him a $20 bill. How much is that in today's money? $130. So that's like a ton of money.
Yeah,
crazy. Anyway, inflation's nuts. Don't even look into it. It'll make you cry. Okay, so meanwhile, Dr. Evil is doing his Dr. Evil thing, which is like trying to hold the world ransom, right? Meanwhile, Austin comes back, takes the time machine from the VW Bug, Doc Brown style. His just like, he goes like 88 miles per hour into a wall, and then he ends up in his pad.
We don't know if it was 80 miles an hour, but he drove.
Austin Powers pad from 1969. So he's cryogenically frozen at this point. So this is 2 years later, but his like stuff still exists, right? So I guess he had like kicking house parties, right?
Why are people just like partying in his house?
No.
Still?
And like, how did they know he was coming? How did they let?
Didn't.
Like,
That's why they're all like Austin Powers.
but then even when like old Basil knew he was coming, right?
That I don't get.
And Felicity.
And like Frau and number 2, like how did they know Dr. Evil was
And
coming?
they had all that shit set up.
It's like, okay, let's just say that like the rules of time travel do not exist in Austin Powers, and they make a joke about that, and they're like, don't think about it too much, audience, because they know they have nothing like credible in this. It's just for like comedic purposes. But once you've seen a lot of time travel movies, you're like, wait a minute, and then like nothing makes sense.
Right. And we've said like our like number one time travel movie, which seems to make the most sense and is the one that we can get behind, is Back to the Future. So we kind of stick to that one. So anything else varying off of that, we're like, no, does not make sense. Anyway, so he is back, and there's this big like party. So he just like jumps into his old life essentially. So a Dr. Evil assassin is there, and her name is Robin Swallows. There's like a whole like blowjob spitter swallow joke that comes along with that. And then there's also a CIA agent there from the United States, Felicity Shagwell. So she's like a party goer, but she's basically tells him to like watch out for the Dr. Evil assassin, saves him, and then they go on their merry way to basically hook up forces, so the U.S. and Britain, to try to defeat Dr. Evil because there's this new threat, right? So that's most of the movie. So it's them being like, okay, like let's like try to defeat Dr. Evil, but also they're like falling in love. Meanwhile, Austin doesn't have his mojo, so he doesn't feel like he can like romance Felicity, even though, you know, as everyone knows, like even though Austin is like pretty nasty, and he's got his gross teeth back too. Like once he went to 1969,
also doesn't make sense.
Yeah, he got his like gross teeth back. So, you know, he's not really a looker, and he's like a hairy little gerbil, but women just like drop their the hottest women like drop their panties for him. So same instance with Felicity, and she like, I think admires him as a spy.
We don't promote the usage of the word panties, but Sweetie decided to use it for unknown reasons.
Well,
I don't know
drop
why.
their panties is like a phrase.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's like this kind of like love relationship going on, but he's like, Felicity, like I can't do it. Like he doesn't tell her straight up he doesn't have his mojo. He just is like, I can't do this. So she feels rejected. But then he comes clean and is like, I lost my mojo, and she's like, oh, now I feel better. Like you didn't reject me because I'm ugly. Like,
oh my god,
yeah,
suck it. Like, come on, please,
big boobs.
Please.
So they go on to defeat Dr. Evil. So there's like a bunch of, well, it's just kind of like Dr. Evil trying to find all these plots. Dr. Evil with Mini-Me, Scott thrown in there as like sort of the bastard son, being like, oh, Mini-Me's the new son. That's like half the jokes. And then they finally meet up at the end. So they, Felicity has to plant. So they know that the fat bastard, not like assassin, he like took the mojo from him in the beginning. They track him down, and they like are able to get his poop and
Did you say that she put the homing device?
Oh,
in
I
him?
skipped over that part. Yeah, so she sleeps with the fat bastard to be able to plant the homing device in his rectum.
They didn't say put it in his ass. They were just like, get it in him, whatever means possible.
A little tube shape.
Yeah, it was
like
a little tube thing.
What is those called? Which is suppository.
Poorly designed 1969 technology. I don't know. She sticks it in his butt. I'm like, that is the worst place ever to put a tracking device on someone, because they're going to poop it out immediately. Or if they don't, they're definitely, like, if they don't feel it, they're definitely going to poop it out. So whatever. So they get a signal, and then they track it down, and it's at Paddington Station in a toilet, because what do you know? He did poop it out. And so they take the sample back to the lab and analyze it. So for some reason, they have the coffee maker next to the poop beaker. And yeah, Austin mistakes it for his coffee, drinks it.
Why does the poop beaker have a spout, though, like a teapot?
there's several mistakes here, right? Like, it's just, I don't know what's going on in the 60s or like whatever, that they were storing poop in little spout beakers. I don't know, but whatever. So they analyzed the poop and realized there's like this like foreign vegetable that like only grows in one island in the world. And so they're like, that's where his lair is. So Felicity and Austin go there. They get arrested by the Dr. Evil cronies. They get dressed again in those like silver prisoner outfits, like kind of from the first one. And then, you know, various escapes happen. I know I lose track of the action at this point, but at some point, Dr. Evil catches Felicity and like locks her in a box, and then the laser's about to shoot at Washington D.C., and he has to pick if he's gonna save the world or save Felicity. So he judo kicks Frau, and then she like misses, and then the laser like shoots off into space, and then he can't save Felicity. So he's like, "Oh no, like I'm sorry, I loved you." So meanwhile, Dr. Evil like flees and then is like, well, there's a time machine so you can go back in time and save her. I don't know why he says, so at this point we've already diverged into like that thread, right? So then Austin goes back in the time machine to like 10 minutes ago. So then it replays again. He like teams up with Austin Powers 10 minutes ago, and then one of them saves the world and one of them saves Felicity, and then all is well. But then there's just like 3 Austin Powers and like 2 Dr. Evils running around the world, and like no one seems to care.
Now that's the movie I want to see.
That would be confusing. So that's it. I mean, Dr. Evil gets away again. It's like both times.
Setting it up for the next one, though.
Yeah. So, and he's like, I'll get you, Austin, blah, blah, blah. And Felicity and Austin, happiness together, party in his pad. What happens to her in the third one? I forget.
Yeah, do they begin that one with another like fembot situation? I'm not sure. I forget. We'll have to watch it. Not sure if we'll cover it. I don't know if I can handle another one of these movies. So yeah, that's the flick. As we said, some funny moments, and we'll talk about, I think, the ones that are still funny to us today. Like we said, a lot of them have aged poorly, and we can't get behind them anymore. So that'll be what it is. But overall, you know, not the greatest sequel, which was sad to me. You know, I started to watch for this movie being like, I can't wait to laugh. And I didn't laugh as much as I wanted to.
Nope.
So that's a bummer.
We're too old.
We've matured.
Old. We're matured.
All right. So let's start with favorite scenes, ones that can still resonate to us or that we still enjoy today. I'll start.
Okay.
Or do you want to start?
There you go.
All right. So Austin's pad party. So when okay, this is not about a menstrual supply party. They call it Austin's pad when he like comes in from 1999. He rolls in this like psychedelic tripped out VW bug, rolling at top speed into that party. Dangerous, appears out of nowhere. I'm surprised no one got killed. Scary. But I remember loving this scene because, okay, the late 60s seemed like a great time. Let's be real. Yeah. Seemed like a nonstop dance party. There was a lot of drugs. There wasn't HIV yet, so people were kind of having a promiscuous sex. Doesn't mean there wasn't other STDs though. So I mean, you could get the clap like that, but you know, not like one that wasn't incurable. Let's say. So people were like going wild. Seemed like a good time. The outfits were cute. I could get behind 1969.
Super cute, yeah.
I could get behind it. Cool eye makeup. The hair was awesome. There's nothing I don't love about the style, right? Mm-hmm. So what's really draws me to that scene. But I feel like a lot of girls wanted to be Heather Graham in that sweet little romper she has on, dancing with her girls to American Woman on the top of that thing. I'm still very drawn to that scene. I still think it's hot. I want to be dancing up on that balcony with her. American Woman, stay away from me.
I think, yeah, I love that little jump. Would you call it? Is it a jumpsuit? Like a short jumpsuit.
It's a romper. It's a jumpsuit
romper
with shorts,
jumpsuit.
But it's a romper.
What's the difference between a romper and a jumpsuit?
A jumpsuit has full legs. A romper shorts.
Always.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about a tank top with shorts? Still a romper?
Still a romper. Romper is just the short aspect of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good to know.
But it's really cute.
But yeah,
It's
I
like
love that.
crocheted.
Love her hair.
She
I'm,
looks
like,
amazing.
obsessed.
Her
Yeah.
She looks great.
And then
it's
she
fun.
talks.
Yeah, and then she talks, and you're like, well, this is over.
It's ruined.
But I also love, so she has this like entourage of dancers, as we said. Carrie Ann Inaba is in this from Dancing with the Stars. She's one of those dancers, and she like does all these moves to like signal them, and they all like come down and do this like strut and all dance around her, and they do this thing to distract. So this is the one where the robin swallows or robin spits, which is it, baby? Comes and that's the assassin for of Dr. Evil, and then there's that whole part which was actually pretty funny. So he like uses her. So there's this assassin that comes. She's like the distraction, and there's just assassin, and he's trying all these different modes to kill Austin. He keeps using the Robin Swallows character as like a shield, and he's like, "Why won't you die?" That part's pretty funny.
Why won't she die?
I don't know, but she looks like a scary burnt doll by the end.
Yeah.
Like Cynthia and Rugrats.
Ew. Yeah, when she gets in the garbage. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
The only part I can think of that I liked is when the chair freaks out and it's like on the fritz and he's like spinning around and he's just like, oh, he's like, I needed an old priest and a young priest. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. I like that
So
scene.
like Exorcist shout out.
Yeah, they get it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I think that was funny,
That was
and I
really
think we laughed a lot. So
We did.
that's one. That's mine.
I
honestly can't think of any.
There's a lot of good Dr. Evil awkwardness in
Yeah.
this.
But those are like, but those are just like moments.
You can't like
I
quote
feel
them.
like.
They're just like you got to be
I
there.
do like the very beginning they do like a Jerry Springer show, and it's like my dad wants to take over the world is the like plot of the show, and then Dr. Evil comes on, and they do the Jerry Springer fights thing, and I just like love that. I mean, it was spot on, right? Where like you have people fighting, and then they like walk away, and they're like, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm gonna get you again," and then they like go again and again. And
or
again.
one person says something like under their breath, and they're like, "Fuck you," and then they like start fighting
Yeah.
again. My favorite part of the Jerry Springer it was when like he takes the Ku Klux Klan guy's hat, and he's like, "I got your hat," and it's like running with it,
got your
It's
hood. I
flapping
got your
it.
hood.
I got your hood. It's like flapping it. So funny. Yeah, that part is really, really good. Because at this time, and we'll talk about this in the like That's So 90s segment, Jerry Springer, like as ubiquitous as
Huge.
Austin Powers, like groovy baby, right?
Yep.
Okay, so some scenes that just stand out to me were the fat bastard sex scene. I just remember being like very uncomfortable about that when I watched it, and it's just like
It made me never want a giant turkey leg at Disney World ever
it's just-
again.
right. It's gross. He's eating in bed. They make the fat bastard character. I mean, it's Mike Myers in a fat suit, but then they also put like all these hairy moles all over him and like weird discoloring. And then he's like eating turkey, so all the meat's falling off of him, and it's like all over his face. It's just really,
really gross.
It's really gross. I just remember, I'll never forget that scene just because it really stood out. As you said, the poop coffee / poop mustache part. So Austin drinks fat bastard's poop. It's confused. It looks like coffee, yada, yada. But the worst part for me was when he's like, he's done drinking it. And then he has a poop mustache. And then he goes, a little nutty. Ugh. What? It's prefaced. The joke before that is like, this coffee smells like shit. And Basil's like, it is shit, Austin.
Great impression.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but he drinks it anyways because he thinks he's just saying like the coffee tastes like shit.
Which is like a funny joke in itself.
Yes,
That's pretty
but yeah, but it's so gross and like it just like looks like Yoo-hoo.
Yeah.
And it.
But there's chunks in it.
Okay, well we don't need to get crazy. This is the problem with HDTV is that now we know too much. But yeah, it's gross. It's nasty. The scene. So a big thing in Austin Powers is the like. Your perception, I guess, is the joke here. But it's like in the first one when Austin and Vanessa are naked and they're like on the video call and they got like the fruit standing in for parts of their bodies. They do a whole scene in the beginning again with that. But then in this one, there's like the silhouette, the shadow of Felicity and Austin's bent over, and it looks like she's pulling stuff out of his ass. She's just pulling stuff out of a bag, and she gets like an umbrella pops open, and the Dr. Evil cronies are watching.
This is like how there is subtle, clever comedy in here. Again, like if you like really look at it, you're like, okay, that's like funny. Who wrote that? Because when they pulls the umbrella out of him, he's like, he gets very serious. He's like, I appreciate if you don't open that in here. Like, why does he say that?
Like weird. I appreciate it
like that.
Because it's bad luck to open an umbrella indoors.
But like that's funny. Like that's funny.
Yeah. There's like a gerbil. Like that part I thought that was silly, but like pretty good.
The stink bomb goes off.
Stink bomb. Ooh, yeah, that is smelly. I'm sorry. That happens sometimes.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah. So that was okay.
Yeah. That one like is pretty, and they did like a great variation of the first one, right? Because like you said, it was in shadow, so they did like a whole different take on it, but kind of still the same joke. Okay, so this one I think is new. They didn't do anything like this in the first one. So Dr. Evil has a spaceship that looks like a penis and two balls. Oh, they did kind of do it in the first one because like the big boy thing was something.
They didn't equate it to like,
but they didn't equate it
because it was a big boy.
Yeah.
It's just the one where he's like, "Sir, there's a big boy. Oh, okay, feed my fish," and they like do the thing of like things he has to do.
Right. Okay. So, but like kind of like the seed was in the first movie. So then they took this a little further, and so like I said, it looks like it's a penis and two balls is a spaceship. So they go. So they have all these random people like seeing the spaceship that looks like a penis flying through the sky, and they're naming it different things. And it switches to the next scene right before the person says basically it looks like a giant whatever it is. So these are all the words they use for different words for a penis, right? Mm-hmm. And this is pretty hilarious to me because I think all the words for penis are just great. I don't know. The lady ones are like okay, but I feel like the men ones are just like funny and random.
What do you mean names for names
vagina.
for penises versus names for vaginas?
Yeah. I mean,
totally.
we can compare it, but I feel like the penis ones are better.
There's like really not many good vagina ones.
Why can't we think of any vagina ones? Maybe we'll try.
Hot Pocket?
Clam, beaver, pink taco.
Ew. They're gross.
I know, they're gross. Okay, so the men ones are funny. So this is what they are for this film. Okay, easy. Dick, right? That's an easy one. Pecker. So they jump to people bird watching. Looks like a pecker. Privates. They shoot to guys in a line in an army. Looks like privates. No, looks like something with two balls. And then it's an umpire like calling, strikes or balls. Yep. And then it goes to Wang, which is a group of Chinese kids getting taught. And this one guy isn't paying attention. His name's Wang. Willie is the next one. Jumps to Willie Nelson cameo. Forgot him in the shout outs. Moves to Johnson, who is a guy who's like working the radar. So it goes like back to the radar. And then there's a whole second round of this, like 20 minutes later, where they trot out the joke again. And it goes to One-Eyed Monster. That's a good one. I don't hear that one a lot. Penis, boring. Woody Harrelson cameo.
Woo!
And last, nothing but a little prick.
Prick.
And it is
little prick.
Dr. Evil giving Mini-Me a shot because he's just been out in space for a while and he's cold.
So
good stuff.
Good scene. All right. So I Googled funny names for vaginas. Just when you Google that, like right on the thing, like a preview shows up of things. So those ones are axe wound, which is like disgusting.
What?
You've never heard of that?
No.
Oh, God. Vertical smile, dumb. Hallway, sure. Morris Minor.
I don't know what that means.
Me neither. Downstairs. Here's a good one. Tampon tunnel.
Oh, that's great.
And the cocksock.
Ew. Okay, that's giving way too much
Here
ownership.
Are ones related to food. Oh, wait, no, this is a different one. Wolverine, pink bearded clam, the red wagon, meat curtains, flour, fur burger, fish lips, love button. These are terrible. These are all just like food. Yeah. Dumb. Dumb as it gets.
Yep, dumb as it gets.
Anyways, wait, I found another one in here that I thought was funny. Oh, ham sandwich. Which is a joke in the first Austin Powers. Do you think that's how did she die from an actual ham sandwich or from a vagina?
Whoa.
Fur burger.
Think about
A lot of tacos. A lot of taco talk.
There's a lot of taco. I mean, it does look like a taco? Maybe.
I guess. I mean, it depends like how big your labia is.
Yeah, your lips are.
So whatever. But here's our pop culture ones. Snatch.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, never heard of some of these. Harry Potter, never heard of that.
What?
It's not even funny.
That is funny.
What?
Okay.
It's silly.
That is
Coochie,
Okay,
growler, vag,
Yeah.
twat. It's pretty funny. Yeah. So notorious VAG. Yeah. You know.
All right. Ooh, I like that one.
Sure. These ones are
right
these are
on.
good. Historical names.
Ooh.
I don't believe this. Okay, it says in the days of ye old, this is what they used to call the female genitalia, and I don't believe this, but whatever. French withered pear,
Okay.
pie corner, aphrodisiac tennis court. Are we sure about this? Where is the fact check? Petticoat lane. They have pie corner on here twice. Someone didn't proofread this, and then the last one, Mrs. Fubb's parlor.
Okay, those are too long-winded. You don't need to use those long
It doesn't
words.
make any sense.
That's crazy.
Anyways, the point is the penis ones are still much better.
Yeah, they're superior.
So-
What's new?
Yeah, what else is new?
Yeah, so it's a whole long extended joke on that. It's pretty funny. It was pretty clever. I still laughed. It was funny to me.
Yeah. Is that it for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all my scenes.
Okay.
Oh, are you going to do your mini-me and get the stick?
Oh yeah, and that one too. I feel like is just like a moment. But Mini Me's chair malfunctions also, and it like shoots him into the roof, and then he's dangling there, and he's like, ee. And then Dr. Eve is like, oh geez, okay, somebody get the stick, and then they get the big stick and get him down, which is something I say more often than you would think. Whenever something is out of reach, I'm always like, somebody get the stick. So that's
The part
why-
after that was funny, too. We did laugh about that.
What was
He's
that?
like, if anything ever happened
Oh
to you.
yeah. So then he like goes on to this. Like, he's just like, I love you so much. Like, you're my special boy. And he's like, if anything ever happened to you, I don't know what I would do. And then I was just like, oh my god. I mean, I tell that to my cat like every day, like every single day. I'm like, please. I'm like, listen. I'm like, you have to listen to me. Don't do bad things because I don't want something bad to happen to you. I won't be able to take it. And then in this one, he's like, I'd probably after 10 minutes or I'd eventually get like another one. But like there'd be 10 minutes where I'd be truly inconsolable. Which is like so true. I mean, for me, it was like days, but weeks, but it really resonated with me. And,
That part was funny.
It just mini me equals cats.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
I mean,
Yeah.
the whole stuff between them, even though we said that the mini-me was like very much came out of this as the big joke of this, I think it is the strength of this movie and the one that is not like outdated because that's like, it's the stuff between them is like never like not funny.
And the
It's good.
stuff between Scott and Mini Me too is also
it's
like
good.
pretty funny. Yeah.
And Scott comes out of this as being like, you know, the stuff between him and Dr. Evil in the first one was like a real strength, I feel like, of the first one.
Yeah.
And then he's a little bit, you're like
He's
over
super
that.
woke.
Yeah. And but he's just like a pain in the butt in this one too. He's like a punk too. He's like an official punk. He looks like a punk, like he's acting like a punk. But then like the dynamic of like Mini Me and him is pretty good. I forget how he is treated in the third one, but
Doesn't he become evil?
does he? I don't remember.
Like towards the end or something? I don't know. Maybe that's the first one.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about. Should we talk about 90s stuff now?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's so 90s.
Yeah. All right. So
Late 90s in particular.
Yeah.
This is very late 90s
Yeah.
stuff.
So Jerry Springer, we already talked about it. Huge fucking deal. All talk shows really huge fucking deal. There is a famous murder case where a guy was on the Jenny Jones show.
Is this an Unsolved Mysteries one?
No, he was on it's been solved. He was on the Jenny Jones show as like and the theme was like, I'm in love with my best friend. And like they bring on a guy and a boy best friend and they're like, guess which one is in love with you? And it was the guy, and he was like so ashamed and embarrassed or something that he was humiliated on national TV that he like killed that guy, which is like so fucked up. So, I mean, it was kind of the end, I feel like, of those talk shows. But there were so many, and they were all on in the summer during the day because normally you'd be at school, so you'd like miss them all. And like in the summer, you'd be like, let's watch Jerry Springer, Sally Jesse, Jenny Jones,
Phil Donahue,
Phil
Mary
Donahue,
Povich.
what's her face? Ricky Lake.
Ricky Lake.
Hello.
Yep.
Which one was your favorite?
I liked Ricky Lake. I mean, I like the women ones. I live really towards those. I never watched Jerry Springer.
I like Sally Jesse.
I saw it for what it was. Like,
yeah,
it was,
Jerry Springer was super
so
stupid,
bad.
so fake and like staged.
Yeah,
and like,
I mean, they
I don't
paid
know.
people to do it. They paid people to get into fights.
Yeah,
it was
dumb.
just so stupid.
Super dumb.
Yeah.
Dumb. But what was your favorite like show when they, they'd have like different ones? Did you have a favorite one?
You mean like a paternity test one?
Yeah, like or like a lie detector test one.
Yeah.
Or like I always loved the like really bad teens one.
Yeah.
And then they sent them to boot camp and they like cry. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I like those ones too because I couldn't really like relate to the paternity test stuff, even though that was like entertaining. But like, who fucking knows if that was real? Now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, but that was like bread and butter for Jerry Springer. Just and he made a good living off of that. I mean, that was definitely his heyday. He's probably still. I don't know what he's doing now. I feel like is he doing good stuff now?
Is he doing any stuff now?
Yeah.
I'll look it up. AOL
Yep.
was another one. I forget. I think Austin logs on to AOL, right?
Yep.
To check his email or whatever.
Yep. So that was like the big email server of the time. That's what everybody had.
In case you forgot.
So that was the main one. And then AOL Instant Messenger came out later. We've talked about this endlessly. Big deal. I was JC's girl in 1976. No, big deal. And then eventually like Yahoo came out, Hotmail, and then Gmail was pretty much the last one. People still have Yahoo accounts. Shout out to Liz, who still has one.
She does.
I was emailing her the other day, and I'm like, oh my God.
So I looked up
still
what Jerry
Yahoo?
Springer's been doing. So you remember like his head security person was Steve?
Yeah.
So he got his own show called the Steve Wilco Show. And Jerry Springer's just like the producer of that. And that show is still fucking on.
Wow.
It's been on since 2007.
What channel?
NBC Universal, I guess.
the
It must
day
be on
slot?
during the day.
Yeah.
It's had 13 seasons and 2,000 episodes. What the
Weird.
fuck?
Weird.
I don't know anything anymore. Anyways, okay. AOL, I put down models. Supermodels were like a very big deal.
I put down Rebecca Romaine because she was like super hot in the late.
I mean, models were just like a big culture.
They were
It
a
was
big
like
cultural thing.
this huge thing. It was like you got your Tyra Banks and your Rebecca Romaine, your Heidi Klum, Kate Moss, just like
Linda Evangelista, Naomi Campbell.
It was the heyday.
their time.
Heyday.
Now you're like, I couldn't name one model right now. Carly Kloss. That's
I mean,
it.
I can just because of like America's Next Top Model, but like maybe not any like what's the Kate Upton.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
They're just not. Yeah, they're not as big of a deal
Yeah.
now. I have Starbucks.
Me
So
too.
this is
Okay,
like
we
when
have the same
Starbucks kind of first started, mid to late '90s.
But they were. I thought didn't they start much earlier than that?
They did,
that's
but they were
when they
only.
really.
That's when they've really franchised and brought out. They started in the Pacific Northwest, right, and kind of branched out from there. But it wasn't until the late '90s then you really still got some. I mean, I didn't see a Starbucks until
I was in like 10th grade.
I don't think until I got to college and maybe towards the end of college we might have had.
I remember
like,
the first
one?
time I drank a Starbucks beverage. It was a caramel macchiato, and I
Yeah.
thought I was so old. Like I was in like
So
9th grade
trendy.
or
It
10th
was so
grade,
trendy.
and I was like, wow, I'm 20.
Yeah.
Like I just felt great. I felt great about it.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I mean, even now on Cape Cod, we don't really have any.
they're in supermarkets, Targets. There's a
Okay, they're in
drive-through
supermarkets,
one.
but there's no like standalone ones on
in
the Cape.
on
Yeah.
the Cape. No,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're Dunkin' Donuts people in Massachusetts. There's a lot of Starbucks, but not as many as other places for sure. Okay, I put down this. Maybe this is controversial. I put down lesbianism because I feel like they do it in a way that gives. In the late 90s, there was this popularity, let's say, I don't know if that's the right word, of lesbianism, talking about like Lilith Fair, and you had like a lot of like lesbians and musicians coming out and kind of being like.
But it was but that was bullshit because they were just like a stereotype of like all women getting together.
Yes.
Oh, they must all be in love with each other and have sex.
Yeah.
Like, and it was such like a fantasized version of being gay was like two women or whatever. And in this case, two like kind of ugly women.
Well, and I feel like this one is very, it's very wrong because they present Frau as being suddenly butch, and she's almost looks like kind of S&M. She's wearing leather and has slick back hair. And then her partner is, she met on the LPGA tour. So that's saying like, okay, all women golfers are lesbian, and she has a unibrow and is like, yes, looks very ugly. So it's very offensive. It's awful. But I think they were like playing on this sort of like acceptable lesbianism, and really it wasn't, but it was like sort of to seek into pop culture. You had these kind of famous lesbians sort of coming out, you know, the Ellen movement from that point and stuff like that. So interesting.
And she wasn't a real lesbian.
Right.
She was a faker.
Okay, next.
Cloning.
Oh,
very
good
90s.
one. I didn't have that one.
Oh. So yeah, 90s, the big thing was they cloned Dolly the sheep. No, everyone like couldn't stop, wouldn't shut up about that shit. When I was in school, I remember I read like news. They're like, let's read this newspaper article about Dolly the sheep. And so you get that shoved down your throat. So that's, I mean, they clone Mini-Me, but I think it comes from the like 90s obsession with cloning probably.
Here's a question. Where did that go? Because now this is 20 years later. Where are the cloned humans?
Right. Maybe they decided it didn't work. There was like, they were flawed in some way. They were little, like,
I mean, I've heard about dogs. You hear this weird thing about Barbara Streisand and her dogs? She, as soon as one, like, she just clones the same dog, and as soon as she it dies, she gets another one. She said the same dog for like 20 years.
That? I thought it didn't.
Super weird. Why wouldn't you want a different dog?
I still don't think it's true.
Let Chico go.
Here's an article for you. 20 years after Dolly the sheep led the way, where is cloning now?
Thank you.
This was written in 2016. I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I think
maybe I'll just read this part.
Okay.
In 2016, cloning a person remains unfeasible with no scientific benefit and an unacceptable level of risk.
Right, exactly. So I don't think there's any benefit. Why would you need to clone yourself?
No.
But are they using that technology to clone like an organ if yours fails? That is where it would be.
Isn't
handy,
that something?
right?
Isn't that stem cell something?
Right,
Something?
which people are against.
Why?
Because, you know, all like gaudy people, they think that's like, because they have to use like fetal cells. It's like an abortion thing. Sketchy. Okay, here's one. Hot Pocket mentioned very many, like a ton
vagina
of times
or
in
the
this.
food?
No, the actual Hot Pocket food. Was this one when Hot Pockets came out? Because it's mentioned like 20 times in this movie.
I've Googled a lot of things tonight, and I'm not stopping with Hot Pockets. I'll tell you. Man, Hot Pockets. Ryan Ferguson will love this discussion.
Ryan, I hope you're listening. I know you love a good Hot
I forget
Pocket.
what that debate
I was partial
about.
to the ham and cheese Hot Pocket.
Oh, yeah.
I will
Ham and
say.
cheese was the best.
Good stuff. The crisper sleeve, did it work or not? I'm not sure.
I don't think it did. I think it was a bunch of baloney. All right, so Hot Pockets were introduced in 1983.
Oh, okay.
So was
Well,
not
I
when.
guess
But
they
I
really
think
cut
this
on.
was when they started advertising maybe more or something, and they were just, everyone had them.
Here's the jingle. What are you going to pick? Hot Pockets. Lean Pockets, too.
Ugh, fuck Lean Pockets.
What was a lean pocket?
Veggies is what it was.
And like turkey. I think it was
But still
lean
tons of
turkey.
cheese.
Yeah.
Please.
Ugh. Yeah.
But anyways,
They
yeah.
were not as
So
good.
I wasn't huge into Hot Pockets. They always got way too hot, and then I would burn.
Give me a semi-hot pocket.
The too hot pocket. I would burn my tongue on the cheese, and then it
I
would be
remember
like,
that
now
too.
I can't taste
Okay,
anything.
when you burn yourself on like your roof of your mouth and your tongue is
Mine was
burned,
the
it's
tongue.
the worst.
The tip of my tongue I would always burn because the cheese would like ooze out and get into your mouth or whatever. Yeah, Hot Pockets, good times. VW Bugs, huge in the 90s where they did like a redesign and then like everybody and their fucking mom had a VW Bug in the 90s, including Mandy Moore in her video Candy, in which she was like 14 years old and couldn't even drive in the first place. But people fucking love that shit. There was a little flower vase and people always had like a flower in there was like a thing.
Where did they go?
They just didn't they say they stopped making them recently?
Yeah,
And it was like a big sad thing.
They did.
I mean, they do look really weird,
They
and
do
like,
look weird.
I mean, I wouldn't have changed the original design.
Yeah,
Was
I
very
know.
classic, but what do we know about car design? I just know
Trunk
they
in
look
the hood.
stupid.
Awesome.
Looks fucking dumb.
And I feel like everyone's mom had a VW Bug. Like our mom had a green one. Jimmy's mom had one.
Oh, like
everyone
an old,
from that time.
an old
Yes.
one.
Everyone's moms who grew up and like were like in college era
affordable
of like
car.
late 60s. Yeah, looked like a good idea.
guess.
Okay, here's another food one. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby. Chili's baby back ribs.
Barbecue sauce.
Chili's baby back ribs.
Barbecue sauce.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. I want my baby back ribs. Yeah.
Chili's.
Chili's was a big deal.
Chili's was a big deal, but really the baby back ribs were like the deal because of these fucking commercials in the 90s that played on all TVs at all hours of the day. So Dr. Evil or Fat Bastard? Fat Bastard like sings this, even though he's in 1969 and would not know what Chili's baby back ribs are. But yeah, that is a staple of pop culture for sure in the 90s. And I never had baby back ribs from Chili's.
Either. I was a chicken
I
fingers.
was a burgers kind of person. So, and a bloomin' onion.
Ooh, good one.
Yum. But that was it, the end of my list.
All right, I have the song "Beautiful Stranger" by Madonna. Remember? So this was like a big jam after this.
I had this soundtrack, and I listened to it a lot.
Yes.
And it's actually pretty good.
It's a good soundtrack.
Because I was looking it up on Apple, and then they played this song, and it just like instantly brought me back.
me
And I was
too.
just like, oh, because did she make this song for the movie?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this was like so we grew up with 80s Madonna, right? Which was like her material girl, like a virgin, and she was like very stylized, whatever. And as everyone knows, Madonna has reinvented herself like 20 times. So this was her like Ray of Light phase, I think. So she was in like that album and sort of reinvented herself as this sort of spiritual, like henna, like tattooed, very into, what's the religion she's into? Kabbalah.
Yeah. Wore out my CD player with this
Ray of Light.
one. Yeah. That was like my number 2 top favorite.
So I think this was on there, or was this just a single? I don't know, but it was like her phase. She had like long, blonde hair.
Yeah, it was not on here.
I mean,
her single
was
from
amazing.
this was Frozen.
Oh, right.
You only see what you want to believe.
Yeah, I mean, she's amazing. She reinvents herself all the time. Very cool. So, yeah. If I'm smart, then I'll run away. If I'm not, so I guess I'll stay. Haven't you heard? I fell in love with a beautiful stranger. And it's kind of psychedelic, and it's a cool song.
Yeah.
It's a cool song.
Yeah,
Takes
pretty
me
good.
back
Pretty
to-
good. Yeah, also the Lenny Kravitz version of American Woman was amazing, and I would put on that song and then walk up and down my room like Heather Graham.
Yep, I know. I'm telling you, that was like a cultural moment. It was great.
I'd be like runway model. Like I'm gonna do my. Speaking of models, I'd be like, let's practice my runway.
American Woman. So the original version of that song is by the Guess Who, which I didn't know, and we have a bunch of their records. They're like prime records you get for like cheap at like garage sales, and we have one.
So there's the Who, and then there's the Guess Who.
Exactly.
I feel like those are a little too close for comfort. Was this a situation? I don't know.
Probably.
I think I thought they were the same band until now. Oops.
Okay, I have Jerry Maguire, so that gets quoted in here. Big, movie of the time. Happened in 98, 97, so a couple years before this. So that gets quoted. We love Jerry Maguire. We've already covered it. As is Independence Day. That gets a shout out.
Will Smith in general.
Will Smith
I feel
in
like
general, because they do a Just the Two of Us like kind of song with Mini Me and Dr. Evil. And I just laughed out loud because I remember like now that song seems so cheesy, but that song was like the jam. Everybody loved it. It's a Bill Withers cover. And that Will Smith, as Will Smith, basically all of his songs were, sampled. And it was a song with him and tiny little Jaden Smith, who I don't even know how old he was, but they had like this cute little like father-son video. And so Dr. Evil does a take on it, with him and Mini-Me. And now that just seems so funny that we were all just like, no matter what Will Smith did, we were like, yes, you are amazing. I still would. I still love that guy.
He was
He's
God.
So great.
Yeah.
But he was God in the late 90s for sure. And then my last one is another song one, the Joan Osborne.
What if God was one of us? I was always a St. Teresa person. But Joan Osborne, great.
So good. That's a great song.
I love her.
Oh my
Relish.
God, I love that song.
Great album.
I'm going to listen to it at the end of this podcast.
Oh, it's great, yeah.
I've missed it. If God had a name, what would it be, and would you call it to his face?
Okay, so I have one other thing to talk about on my list of things, and it is what is up with those fucking under the space helmet, the moon cap.
Snoopy
I hate
caps.
those caps. They look so dumb. Like,
Yeah.
I just, every time someone's wearing just the little
Like, what's
cap,
the
I'm
point?
like, get out of here
Yeah.
with that. Why do you want to look like a weird Mickey Mouse? I don't know.
Okay, I have 2 more things to say. Okay, maybe 3. What is with in this movie dressing up their prisoners in sexy, fun outfits?
I know.
I think we talked about this in
We
the
did.
first Austin Powers. Like, okay, maybe the first one, but like I kind of get it because Austin and Felicity get kind of dressed up and then they're kind of whatever. But then the second time Felicity gets captured, they put her in like a really glamorous outfit, redo her hair, and give her dangly earrings.
Doesn't make sense. And I still can't picture the situation that was like, I mean, she's like a CIA operative and they're going to like sit her still to be like, okay, now we're going to put earrings on you.
She was in a spacesuit before.
Right. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, there's a line where Will Ferrell as Mustafa, they do this whole thing where he falls off the mountain. It's a retread of the first one where he's like in the underground fire thing. He's like, I'm badly burned. And this one he's like, I've broke both my legs. And he like tries to stand on them. And he's like, this horrible bone breaking noise, which is the absolute worst. But then he's like, can someone please hand me a Band-Aid or maybe some antibiotic cream? My wound is starting to smell like almonds. And I never got that part, so I Googled it, and there is a bacteria that like makes a almond-like smell. It's called Pseudomonas, and that's what happens.
Wow.
So if your wound smells like almonds, it's a bad sign, guys.
Deep cuts.
Bad.
Deep cuts from
The other smell is a chemical kind of cleaning agent smell. If your wound smells like that, also bad. That's the other kind of
Now
bacteria.
I'm gonna like
which would
freak
mean it's
out all the
infected.
time. Anytime I smell almonds, gonna be like, "Am I dying?" Probably.
Well, that's not the seizure one?
No,
is it?
I think that's oranges,
Oranges.
or burnt toast.
Oh my god, I smelled burnt toast the other day. I almost
It's
lost
a common
my
occurrence.
mind. I know.
I used to live down the street from a bakery, and like every day at 3, I'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm having a seizure." But it was just they would fucking burn the bread every day at 3 or whatever.
Agreed.
It's annoying.
Okay, last segment. One of my favorites. The I forgot what I used to call this previously, but this title of this movie in other countries when it was released. Oh, I think I called it "That's So International." Yeah. Okay, these are pretty good. So, "Spy Who Shagged Me." You know, that's like could be a controversial title. They probably had to change it in a couple different countries. Ready? Not so in Norway because the title was "The Spy Who Ejaculated on Me." Very, very straightforward. That's what happened. On you? Ooh.
Yeah.
Hope it went in you. Well, maybe on you. No pregnancies.
Yeah.
How about in Croatia? "The Spy Who Groped Me." Okay, that could
Yeah,
happen
you would
if
do
you're
that.
being shagged. Brazil, "The Spy Who Is Good in Bed." Okay.
Accurate.
That's subjective, but we'll go with it. China, you know, they're not a little bit more buttoned down there. They went with "The Spy Who Liked Me a Lot."
Good one. I like
Good
that.
one.
They should have changed it to
I
that.
know. Isn't that
Make it
funny?
be funny. Good times,
Good
man.
times.
Well, have you seen Austin Powers' The Spy Who Shagged Me lately?
Of course. Oh, maybe not lately. I thought you meant at all.
I was like, that's being very bold and assuming a lot. Come find us on Twitter at the Sweetie Club or on Instagram at Large March. Sent us. Thank you, as always, for listening. Bye.
Bye, Reporters Austin.